What's up, everybody? Welcome into Season 4, Episode 2 of Krunch Time. Seated next to me, as always, Mad Max. Max, how's it hanging?
It's going good, Kruck. Good weekend this past week, so I'm doing well. How about you?
Absolutely. Both of our predictions ended up coming true, if I do believe so. The Bengals and the Rams in the Super Bowl. This one's going to be a good one.
Yes, Kruck, it's going to be a great one. First, I can't believe that first of all, my Bengals made it there in the first place. It looked like, the first half, I was scared. We were down 21-10. Then all of a sudden, just the defense came to play in the second half, and that's very cool. I was obviously, at a bar with my friend Woody and Murph, and we were there. We were really the only Bengals fans there, Kruck, and, we had a good time. Obviously, we had to get out of there quickly because, all the Chiefs fans, you don't want to mess with them all. But it was very good to see my team win, and good to see the Rams win, too. You know what I mean? For the Rams, obviously, they get to host the Super Bowl. They had to make another rally, too, just like the Bengals as well. So it's going to be a good one, Kruck. I can't wait to see what happens.
Absolutely. Looking at the breakdowns right now, the Bengals in the playoffs giving up get 24 points per game, give up 20. The Rams get 28 points per game, give up 18. The rushing yards, kind of similar. The passing yards, pretty similar as well, but where it comes into a huge difference, the Rams have home field advantage, and the Bengals have thrown 6 picks. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think it's, like you said, home field advantage is very important. Home field advantage is something you got to keep an eye on. But I think I'm really going to be watching in this game is I'm going to be watching how the defensive line for the Rams plays. Like the defensive line with Von Miller, Aaron Donald, how they going to do against that offensive line with the Bengals. I think that is going to be a key matchup to watch, I think, in this game, Kruck.
Absolutely. Looking at it, got on the board today the offense, defense, other miscellaneous, and then home field advantage. Starting out the gate with the offense, I really wanted to go with the Bengals because they've been red hot lately, but the stats don't lie. More points per game, more rushing yards per game, and more passing yards per game. Rams are getting offense. Looking at the defensive side of things, they hold their opponents to 18 points. The Bengals are giving up 20 points a game. Passing yards allowed, running yards allowed. The Bengals are allowing more defense. I don't want Aaron Donald getting mad at me. Looking at other couple of things that I have, 4 fumbles. The Rams have lost all 4 fumbles, and they only have 35 penalty yards per game. The Bengals, 6 picks and 50 penalty yards per game. That's half a touchdown right there. And then home field advantage, it's in L.A. You can see who I want to win.
Oh, yeah.
I cheered for the Bengals last week.
That's a straight one there, Kruck.
Stats don't lie.
Yeah, I guess, looking at that board, I would kind of say I agree with you with the defense. I think the defense for the Rams is definitely more stronger with Aaron Donald and just how that defensive line plays. The secondary without Ramsey, I don't know for sure how the Rams will be. That's kind of what worries me about the Rams if they don't get pressure. Obviously, how the Bengals receivers will do. But I don't know. I'm going to go with the offense with Cincinnati. I feel like there's something with the Bengals this year. Just with Joe Burrow and just looking at Jamar Chase, I think Matt Stafford's a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great quarterback. He's been in the league, and I've thought about his story, been all those years in Detroit, and just, all the craziness he's been through. But I think Cincinnati, just with Jamar Chase, obviously Uzama, I heard, looks like he's going to get back and healthy for the game. That's another big pickup for the Bengals. I think that, to me, is going to be actually switched up, in my opinion. And looking at it other, too, like penalties, yeah, it's very important, right? You don't know about it. But special teams is obviously a key for the Bengals, obviously, in this game. I think 100%. Evan McPherson just keeps making field goals left and right. Now, obviously, against the Rams, how's that going to be like? We don't know. Because the Rams, you got to be able to score points against the Rams, especially with that defense. So I think special teams kind of goes to the Bengals, and then home field, it's pretty obvious, right? And they're in L.A., so I think that obviously goes to the Rams as well.
I'm wearing my Bears jersey right now. I've got nothing against an AFC team because I also like the Jaguars. I have a high school guy I went with. He's the running back for the Jags right now, but I'm not gonna say either way. I'm just pointing out the stats.
Yeah.
The Rams have got them all straightforward, and they're predicted 66% on StatCast on the NFL.
Yeah.
ESPN.com. But also there's another game this weekend, Pro Bowl. AFC or NFC, Max? Just real quick.
I'll say the AFC, but very close. I think it's going to be very close. Obviously the quarterbacks, I think Mahomes, right? It's probably going to be one of the starters. Herbert will probably be there. And then the NFC, I don't know the starters totally. for the Pro Bowl, but it's it's the Pro Bowl. It's probably gonna be high scoring, right? It's expect offense. That's all I can tell you.
Looking at the talent that is out of the playoffs and not going to make the Super Bowl, the AFC is going to have more offensive talent and explosion. I'm going to take the AFC by 7. Next topic up for debate, the NBA lockout. What's happening there and all the latest news? Max, fill us in.
Oh yeah, so the MLB lockout, right? I think it's it's very interesting what's going on. Obviously, the players and the MLB itself are having negotiations. Right now, they're at a stalemate at this point, Kruck. Right now, they're in a stalemate. Obviously, they're trying to get a federal mediator, which basically is trying to help out the situation, basically to make it so both sides can compromise and agree on things. But obviously, the players' union thinks that it's just for publicity. It's not like, it's not something they think it's very important overall. However, though, this is obviously, if this keeps going on, we don't know about when the MLB season might start up. Possibly with spring training could possibly be delayed, and obviously we don't know about opening day. So I think that's very important that obviously this whole federal mediator kind of person has been key roles in the past. It helped out a 50-day MLB lockout in 1981. It also helped out other leagues too, the NHL with a 113-day lockout that happened in 2012 and 2013. And also it kind of helped out the NFL with kind of the referees kind of thing, the lockout too. So this has helped out in the past. So obviously the MLB just looks like right now they just want to get this thing taken care of as soon as possible.
Absolutely. The MLB Owners Association has warned the Players Association there will not be a counter offer. They gave one offer and they said take it or leave it. There's no substitute. Now we have had years in the past where we've had backup refs, as you talked about, backup players, backup, these smaller players from the minor league systems who come up and play in place for these pros. But, you have guys like Mike Trout not playing. Shohei Ohtani, who just got announced is going to be the cover of the show 22.
Oh, wow.
You got players like Christian Yelich from my team. From your team, the Reds, you got Jesse Winker, who's not going to be pitching. Or pardon me, he's not going to be in the outfield. You got guys like Nolan Arenado.
Right.
You got cities like St. Louis where their entire sporting favor is basically the Cardinals. Yeah, they have the Jazz, but they are a baseball city. I want the NBA, really getting to it today. I want the MLB to come through. I want them to meet in the middle, and I don't think this will be the last counter offer. I think it's going to be some more back and forth before we get a final.
I agree. Quick update for it. Hopefully it does get taken care of, right? Because this is the MLB we're talking about here. Everyone likes to watch this, and obviously, you don't have a delay in anything, and obviously you just want to get it taken care of, before other things happen. So.
And moving forward, the last topic before a break, the NBA catch-up. How's the NBA been going? And a little bit about the All-Star break.
So, I'm going to start, Kruck, with just looking at the Eastern Conference, right? Look at your Chicago Bulls. I think right now, the Chicago Bulls right now are the team in the East. Obviously, I didn't expect this, Kruck, with the Bulls. So with DeRozan and Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine, they've really come together, you know what I mean? Just as they're not big-time players, but they're doing a great job helping it out for the Chicago Bulls. But if I had to be this one team to still watch out for, I cannot still sleep on the Milwaukee Bucks. And I say that because obviously they won it for last year, but this Milwaukee Bucks team, you never know what happens with Giannis. You don't know what's going to happen with him or Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. And obviously you just got to see how it plays out for the entire year. I think that's going to be very important. And then in the West, I think the Suns right now are the team that everyone's trying to beat. Obviously the Suns, I thought this, Kruck, when they made that run in the bubble, they've kept that confidence going on since that the whole time. And I think that's very cool to see with Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, just how that team is playing, and Devin Booker as well. But the Warriors, can't sleep on them. They're another team to watch. Steph Curry, you never know when he's going to get hot. And keep an eye on the Memphis Grizzlies, too, with Ja Morant. I really like this Memphis Grizzlies team. I like how they're playing. And then, obviously, just a big disappointment this year, the Los Angeles Lakers. I think it's a big disappointment just how they're playing. Obviously, you have LeBron James, you have Russell Westbrook, you have Anthony Davis, all there, but they're just not getting on the same page.
You're absolutely right. Looking at mine, I just went straight down the list. The Suns are number 1, Warriors 2, Grizzlies, Bulls, Heat rounding out the top 5, and then the 6 through 10 go 76ers, Bucks, Jazz, Cavaliers, and Nets. Would have never guessed the Cavs would be that high. You know who I would have guessed to be there if we go back to season 3? the Knickerbockers. Unfortunately, they're in 21st right now, record of 24 and 28.
You know,
and they have a point differential of negative 0.7 points.
yeah, so if you guys don't remember, I'll refresh everybody's mind. At the beginning one time of the show, I did mention something about the Knicks. I thought the Knicks would do well. Remember I said the Knicks might make it to the playoffs. They have a big run after last season. But damn, they have just been a dear disappointment. Just a disappointment of all things. And, you know, just obviously it's you get some right, you get some wrong, right, Kruck? You know, it's
Absolutely. The NBA All-Star break is coming up, and it should be a good one. Here are the starting lineups for each team. For Team Durant, the starting lineup is Giannis Antetokounmpo, DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and Trae Young. The starting lineup for LeBron James's team is going to be Steph Curry, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Ja Morant, and Andrew Wiggins. Which one of those 10 names do you think stands out the most to you?
I mean, there's a lot of names. I think, you know, obviously you hear about Giannis and Kevin Durant. Obviously, those two are big-time names. I think playing on the same team, that'll be interesting to watch because you see Giannis' strength and then Kevin Durant, just how he plays overall. I think, obviously, I'm very interested in Andrew Wiggins that got in there. That's very interesting. Usually you see Steph Curry. He's obviously a name that's been obviously first started at the Minnesota Timberwolves before moving over to the Warriors. And obviously I think, you know, that's very interesting to see how he plays with Steph Curry and Ja Morant. I mean, that's another guy, too. I just like how his game is. I've liked him since he played at Murray State in college, and just how he plays overall is just his athleticism just out of this world, Kruck.
Absolutely. The one that stuck out to me was also Andrew Wiggins. He's averaging 6 points per game less than anybody else there. All other 9 players are averaging 22 points per game or more, except for Andrew Wiggins, averaging 18 points per game. Looking at the reserves for each team are just filled with huge names. But the two that stand out to me are going to be Darius Garland out of the Cavaliers, who's really been putting on a show this year, all in all. And then the other name is none other than Rockford native, right from my old stomping grounds, Fred VanVleet,
Look at that.
the point guard for the Toronto Raptors. Any names stand out for you?
I mean, I think you said Darius Garland is probably the one that I was looking at. I think just, you know, speaking of Cleveland itself, who would have thought that after, you know, LeBron James left and everything, that Cleveland would get back on the map? It's just they brought people back, young stars. I think he's taken the league by storm, just how he's playing, his physicality and everything. So I really like Darius Garland. I think he's going to be a star in the league for future years to come.
Absolutely. And that was the first half of the show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a moment with the second half. And welcome back from that not-so-long break. The final topic we got is Tom Brady officially retiring from the NFL. Joined with us at the table is Tampa Bay Bucks fan Garrett Tipton, also one of the main producers for the show. Garrett, thank you for becoming an on-camera talent other than just behind-the-camera talent.
You know, I think my talents could be used everywhere, behind the camera, on camera. I mean, really, I'm a jack of all trades.
Yeah, definitely is.
All right, so let's just get things started here. Tom Brady's retiring. The man, the myth, the legend of Tom Brady will forever have several, or maybe not forever, until the next great quarterback, but he's got some records to his name. Max, you want to go through the records that he owns?
I mean, he's got 7 Super Bowl rings. That's all I know, and he's got probably a lot of MVP awards. You know what I mean? A lot of things, and I just think the thing about Tom Brady. First, when I heard this news, I don't know about you guys, I was kind of shocked. You know what I mean? I was kind of shocked to hear about it. I was over here like, whoa! I personally thought he'd have one more year, and then he would possibly retire. That's what I thought, in my opinion.
I did not see him going out on a loss like he did. That was for me. Every single offseason, I'm going, Tom Brady's going to retire this year. He's going to retire this year. And then the 1 year, I tell myself, he's not going to retire this year. They lost. He retires. It's definitely something that hit football.
And here's the thing, too, is that you got to think, like Kruck mentioned, too, who's going to be, I mean, a lot of things, people got to live up to the expectation of Tom Brady. A lot of people understand what Tom Brady did for the sport, and I think what he does overall is just, he changed the sport overall. Remember, when we started to talk about Tom Brady, he was just a lonely guy, 6th-round pick that got in New England. No one really heard about him. You know what I mean? Yep. He was a backup quarterback behind, what was it, Hanson or something? Or Bledsoe? Bledsoe, right? Bledsoe. And I mean, people didn't know what he would be like. And I think looking at it, taking himself and putting some mindset. You know what I mean? Talk about a mindset, a championship mindset each week. How he did it. I mean, that's kind of what I aspire by Tom Brady, and I mean, he's one of my favorites. That's why I like him a lot so far.
Looking at some of the records that this man owns, most Super Bowl rings with 7 as a player. Most games won as a player, 278. Most times sacked, 622. Not one of those glory records, but, he kept getting back up.
Nice job putting a negative stat.
Most game-winning drives, 67. Most fourth-quarter comebacks of 51. Most touchdown passes, 710. Most passing yards, 97,569.
Now, what's insane about that is, if I'm correct, that most of those those passing yards and most of those touchdowns, those were scored this year. Most of those records were broken by Tom Brady this year, and then you know what he did the week after? He broke his own record. To me, that's insane. I mean, I know the touchdown one. That was a touchdown pass to Mike Evans, which, if you guys don't know, Mike Evans gave the ball away without even realizing, and that to me is pretty insane that he did it all in 1 year.
And speaking of that, I mean, I like how you mentioned. I always think about how he came out of New England. You know what I mean? And then first came into Tampa and changed another organization. That's another thing you got to think about too. Yeah. Is if you look at that, he didn't just inspire people in New England for many years that he was there.
Tampa too. Well, everyone always called him before he left New England, and I'll be honest, I was the same way. I didn't like him before he came to Tampa either. He was always known as the systematic quarterback. The only reason he's good is Bill Belichick. The only reason he's good is his receivers.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But then he comes over to the Tampa Bay Bucks and goes and wins the Super Bowl that year.
Proved everybody wrong.
Yeah, exactly. He comes around, he proves everyone wrong, and he eats, sleeps, and breathes like a champion. I mean, even in the off season, the dude barely drinks. He's always on a diet, and he's always working out.
Exactly.
I mean, he is champion year round.
Absolutely. He's been in the league for 22 years, and 19 of his years in the league, he's had over 3,000 yards passing. Also, he's the oldest NFL player to win MVP at the age of 40. And one of my favorite fun facts.
Oh, boy.
Most career passing yards with one team. He's got just shy of 75,000 passing yards with the Patriots.
Wow.
I mean, that's just, hearing all those stats just tells you how the greatness of Tom Brady is. I mean, it's just, that's why, I mean, we can always talk about, I mean, I'm kind of like thinking who will be that next guy. And I'm looking at it now. Yeah. I want to see who it could be. A lot of people still don't know if it could possibly be Mahomes. Obviously, we don't know this year because lost to my Bengals team. And then we got Josh Allen. We got other quarterbacks, right? Justin Herbert. And we got, and there's Russell Wilson. So there's a lot of Russell Wilson and a lot of other different quarterbacks out there that could make a name for himself. But I don't think, they're up to the level.
It's too early to tell.
It's too early to tell.
That's
what makes Tom Brady so good.
Because, it's insane because with Tom Brady's retirement, that is an end of a whole era of quarterbacks, which leads into all of these new younger guys that we still don't know yet how they're going to shine.
Yeah, who knows about Joe Burrow, too?
Since you brought it up, the previous era of quarterbacks, just looking at them, both Manning brothers, Peyton and Eli.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
We got Phillip Rivers, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Jay Cutler, bless his heart, Alex Smith, Blake Bortles, such great big quarterbacks.
Great big names, most of them.
Who is the few quarterbacks that you truly knew growing up, Max?
Wow. Like I said, there's a lot. You know what I mean? I obviously like watching Drew Brees a lot. I think Drew Brees to me was always a guy, not just how he was on the field, but off the field. A lot of the things he did off the field, just obviously with the time during Hurricane Katrina back 2005, a lot of things he did there I thought was very important. Speaking as a Bengals fan, always was a kind of a fan. I was about 5-6 years old when Carson Palmer was playing in the league, but I always liked, how he played, you know what I mean? Just how his demeanor was. Obviously, we didn't get the playoff wins we wanted, but, still his stats overall did a good job, I think, as a whole. So, those are two of my favorites. Obviously, the Manning brothers. Both of them were good. Speaking of Eli, he did defeat Mr. Tom Brady one time in a Super Bowl.
Those were the two star-crossed enemies whenever they came across each other in any sort of game, but especially in a Super Bowl.
Hey, now they got it. Now they got their own Monday Night Football show now on ESPN. You know what I'm saying? They got their own show.
I mean, it's crazy because a lot of those quarterbacks I grew up watching. Like personally, Peyton Manning was one of those quarterbacks who helped me fall in love with the game even more. I mean, just watching him play his last game and just, oh man, it's definitely insane. Another one I think for me would be Blake Bortles. With Blake Bortles actually being from Central Florida, where I'm also from, he went to my rival high school, actually, funny enough. So
Very cool, man.
Yeah, it is really cool. And every single year he'd come back and he'd have his own camp at the high school and everything. So it's pretty cool.
Well, it'd be a shame of us not to say some of these other big names too. Kurt Warner with the St. Louis Rams. Yeah. You got Michael Vick, who was with the Eagles and the Falcons. You got Tony Romo with the Cowboys.
Tony Romo.
I mean, there's other huge ones as well. Matt Hasselbeck with the
Speaking of Cowboys, you could say Troy Aikman. You know what I mean? You could say that. I mean, I think
Troy Aikman was done before we were born, dude.
Well, I mean, but I'm still. It's just.
But in the era that we grew up with,
yeah, it's.
I'd say Carson Palmer over Troy Aikman.
Yeah.
Carson Palmer, especially for you. He was a huge Bengal guy, but for you, Brad Johnson. Tampa Bay Bucks quarterback Brad Johnson. Huge. But where would we be if we forgot the number one Jets QB in the 2000s, Chad Pennington? Great guy right there. Threw more picks. He was like the Santa Claus of interceptions. Everybody gets one.
I think you mean Jameis Winston.
Pardon me. All right, that's going to do it for the show today. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, YouTube, anywhere else you find the podcast or show. Until next time, Kruck, Mad Max, Garrett, the Dirty Hipton, Tipton. See you next time.
Deuces.